Hey fellow creators, welcome back to another Fix It Friday. We're going to be talking about our parts collections today. I know that each of us has an ever-growing parts collection, and as it gets into the hundreds and the thousands of components, it can be really hard to organize and find and keep up with what you've got. So today I'm going to be talking about how I organize my personal collection, how I find everything, and how I know what to keep and what to throw away. So let's get started.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make this as nausea-free as possible. But I've got most of these sorted by size and then by category. And what I mean by size is transformers I put down on the bottom because they're heavy. But, you can fit them into a filing cabinet drawer and sort through them pretty easily. Let's see if I can... That one didn't want to open, but either way, I think you can see what I mean here. And I've got my wall warts down here, and then, like, say I have large capacitors, and then, so I've got a lot of that stuff in larger filing cabinets where they're easy to sort. Now I've got these microfiche cabinets here, and I've got, for example, I've got more capacitors. And before you get sick to your stomach at the thought of sorting your entire collection, it is not as hard as you think. If you sit in front of the TV for any period of time, this stuff can just happen naturally if you have a system to it. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, we're going to kind of talk about what order I do these in. Up here on top, I've got my actives. So that's my transistors, my diodes, my integrated circuits. And so I've got these in order of part number and then by category. So MOSFETs, JFETs, bipolar transistors, and then they're by part number. So I've gotten to the point where I know what part numbers are what. And so I go for looking for them. And especially like my logic here, it's really important to have these by part numbers. These are little coin envelopes that I found at, let's see, what drawer are they in? Yeah, it's the number three coin envelopes, and you can buy whatever fits best for you in your cabinetry. And these mini loaf pan sets, they're like 50 cents for 5 of them at Walmart, and they're great for sorting things. They're really lightweight. They're, if you ruin one, you can get another one for really cheap. So like I said, all of my active devices I organize by category and then by part number. And I only keep the part numbers that I'm familiar with or that seem really rare and hard to get. But mostly I've gotten rid of everything that I'm not familiar with. Second, we've got the first passive drawer, and this is all my resistors. And we have them sorted by wattage because resistors are most often... the first thing you look for when you're looking for a resistor is you need a certain wattage, then you need a certain value. So we've got those sorted that way. My pots are a little more loosely sorted. I've got less than 10K, over 10K, over 100K, and greater than or equal to 1 million. And then my smaller pots are sorted the same way. Next, my capacitor drawer. Now, these were the hardest things to figure out how to sort, were capacitors. Most of mine, I've still got some I haven't sorted, but most of mine spent their life in a peanut butter jar like this, and I would dump them out every time. So I figured out how to sort these from the Mouser catalog. They were organized by voltages, and then by farad rating. And I think you'll find that that you don't have that many voltages or microfarad ratings per voltage. And I just literally sat in front of the TV and sorted them out by voltage. And I used a lot of these little bins sitting in front of me on the coffee table, sorted them out by voltage, put them each in a jar, and then sorted them out by farad rating. And these came out really great. This is my favorite thing that I've done in my shop because I can find them immediately. I can put them away immediately. So that's real nice. This is the new old stock drawer. I do a lot of guitar pedals and working on amps and stuff, and so sometimes I need some old components, and I want to keep them away from the rest of my components so I don't use them. This is my next section, is the inductors. And in here, I've found that I don't keep very many inductors that I find in televisions and that sort of thing, because you can't really use them. Every time you need an inductor, you're going to have to make it specifically to suit the needs of what your circuit is doing. And so I've gotten to the point where I don't keep them. Let's see, what else have we got here? LEDs I've got sorted by color and size. And I've got strobe tubes, laser tubes, that sort of thing. My displays, they're just kind of in here because I don't have too many of them. Let's see what else we've got. Switch and relay. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of switches or relays. Otherwise, I would probably sort them by voltage rating if it was a relay, and then I would sort them by how many throws they had. So relays are in double pole, double throw, single pole, single throw, that sort of thing, and they also come in a voltage rating. So I would sort them that way. I would sort all of my switches by I would say momentary and on off and on, off, on, and they're switching type, and then I would sort by the number of throws that they had, if I had a lot of switches. Let's see, my connectors. This was an interesting thing for me, too. I had to get rid of a lot of these. I had literally had buckets full of this stuff. And so I got to the point where I would keep, see, these are parallel interface sockets, and I would keep 2, and then I get rid of everything else, unless I used it all the time, or I was afraid I'd never find one again and I expected to use it. And then these are where I keep my stepper motors and servos and that sort of thing. Power cables, I'm in this drawer all the time. And the way these things are rolled, I roll them up just like you're rolling an extension cord, and then I roll the last about foot or two right inside of itself, and it keeps them together so I can just dig through them, like that, and they don't get tangled up. They're not a big ball. Let's see, switch mode power supplies. Go through these things like crazy. So it's a nice place to just throw them. Now, my wall warts, this is another thing. There's something in knitting called the butterfly, and you can look this up. But this is how I wrap all of my cords. It's really fast. It doesn't take very long. And every time I throw them in here, I do something called the butterfly. I think it came out of, it's really common in crochet and needlepoint. So if you're not too insecure about visiting a needlepoint website, go look it up. Let's see, most of these are just sorted by size. And my transformers, let's see. When I pull them out of something, if they do have a voltage on them, I go ahead and test them, and I write down what the voltage reading was on them. And that way I have a good idea of, when I throw them in this giant box, of what they are when I'm digging through. If I had more room, I would organize them a little better, because it's a little maddening to look through. But I hope that helps you. It really helps me to kind of have an idea of how to start the categories. So